right, probably one of the most anticipated horror movies of 2024. And definitely is this one. And I'm glad I finally got a chance to see it. I know it's been out for uh, maybe a week or two now. Um, and, it was been at some festival. So I'm glad I finally got a chance to see it. Been definitely one of many the horror fans who've been looking forward to this one. So let's talk about it. Starting with the IMDb plot, Art the Clown is set to unleash chaos on unsuspecting residents of Miles County as they peacefully drift off to sleep on Christmas Eve. Of course, Art the Clown is here to ruin Christmas once again, and definitely ruin the lives of many once again. Um, yeah, so like I said, definitely one of the more anticipated horror movies of the year. We've known this is going to be out for a while, and we've had to wait for it, and it's here now in October, which seems like a great place for it. So yeah, I mean, really, once you watch this, and all the massacre that happens here, um, it definitely belongs in October. Um, yeah, so lots to say about this, or maybe not say about this. Um, as I've kind of you know thought about and said before in the past, I really looking for Art the Clown to kind of be, maybe part of, this generation, kind of horror icons. A character that is, this generation's, Freddy, Jason, Michael, us, maybe a little bit older school horror fans. We all beloved those kind of characters, and they're near and dear to all our hearts. Obviously, some of them have been remade and butchered and other things, and maybe some of other generations have seen different versions of those characters. But definitely, we've seen the beginning of many of those and appreciate it and hold those in high regard. So I would say that I kind of look at Art as being maybe, some of the newer horror fans, or newer, different generation, is a character that they can kind of look upon in a similar way. Obviously, maybe not everybody can enjoy that the way it is, because Art is a little bit extreme. We have, not rated ratings on many of these things, definitely huge on blood and guts. So, maybe that generation is having a hard time even being able to see this because they can't. I don't know. But, as far as characters in a different generation, I definitely think he's up there. And, we'll see where this goes. There's probably going to be one more movie, and then we'll see where it goes from that. Does it follow in the footsteps of some of those other ones that I just mentioned, and we have multiple more sequels to come, or maybe that's it. We don't know. But as I view it, I kind of think about that, and think about can they continue this? Can Art be one of those characters? But obviously, that kind of takes not only what he does, but also what the movie does. And so this one, I think we were kind of evolving and learning a little bit more about him as we go. Obviously, I should say, new film out. I think a lot of you probably, hopefully, have already seen it. But I'll still try to keep this spoiler free. I'm not going to make a full 100% guarantee that I might give away something here. So you've been fairly warned. I'm going to try not to, but it might be tough here. I guess I want to hit on a couple of things. But we've kind of seen it evolve. We saw the first one, and it was an introduction to him, and he's just a crazy clown, and I'm going to just terrorize these people and butcher some people, and specifically these two women here, and even one even more specifically. and then kind of evolve. I think, once we hit the second one, it seemed like he was back to kind of cause just, similar chaos. But then by the end of it, we saw maybe there was a little bit more reason behind it. And, maybe a little bit more of a targeted victim here, with some more intention. And with the end of part 2, we also saw him, kind of meet, a partner, someone who's with him, and maybe realize that Art is not all alone. So we're diving into this one, we get the story kind of continuing. I think, one of the first things they do well in it is kind of, show that the story is continuing, bring that connection between part 2 and part 3. And, sometimes in sequels, whatever, and, maybe a little bit more, if it went a little bit further, sometimes you get that disconnect where, it's not as connected, the character kind of just pops up and it goes on a killing spree again. This is definitely connected to, they go through the effort of making the connection of the two films. So I definitely kind of appreciate that. Obviously, we have an opening here. He goes into a house. He's going to do a lot of killing. Fun stuff. I think, if you follow my reviews, you know that he's a character that I must love, and a series that I must much appreciate because of the blood and guts in it. That I'm into that. I like that in the movies. So definitely, Art is, a must see because I know that I'm going to get that in it. So definitely you have to start off the movie that way. And it does, he just, brutally, goes into this house, and kills, some family members here in this house. Then it kind of goes backwards, and then we're going to move more forward back into this direction. Because, when the movie starts and you see him, you're kind of like, well, that's not how we left off. So, obviously the movie has to then go backwards, and we see a completely bizarre and crazy way that, I guess, Art is almost put back together, per se. With maybe a little bit touch of humor and so forth. I'm not going to go through the details. If you haven't, just in case you haven't seen it, so you can kind of see how Art becomes Art again, or is recovered after what happened in part 2. I'll leave that for you if you've not seen it yet. But I do appreciate them going back and taking us through that. Definitely weird, definitely crazy. Definitely had a touch of humor in there as well. So yeah, there's that. So with that, we're going to see him with this woman, this character that we saw introduced at the end of part 2, and she is definitely going to play a bigger role in this part 3 here. This making it a trilogy here. She's going to play a role. We're going to see her in it. Definitely starts off with Art, is very focused on Art. We do see her a little bit in the beginning, but then we will see several kills by Art as we go along. And then later on, she will really have an impact on the end of the film, the final moments there. So basically, the movie is much about, once we have Art back together, and we're reminded of this woman he's with now. Much of the movie then is bringing Sienna and Art back together. They're going to basically have another face-off, and that's the direction the movie moves. So basically, we as I said, we're gonna get Art back together. Then you're gonna get kind of Art to get his Santa gear on, and then again Art move in the direction of eventually finding Sienna so that we can have this battle. So I again, I kind of appreciate the steps they do. Obviously, there's clear steps going on here to get to that. We see Sienna. She's moved in with other family members here. Um, we've kind of taken her in to try to kind of get her grounded again, and she's kind of struggling a bit. She's having flashes and whatever, and maybe PSD or whatever you want to call it. Seeing things, strange things, seeing not nice, not good things. Definitely some interesting scenes they do there. One in particular in the dining table. But yeah, she's gonna see some crazy stuff, and obviously have that strong feeling that it's not over, that this is going to continue, or she will see Art or someone again, as this kind of unfolds. Her brother's off. He's kind of in college now, kind of trying to do that thing, trying to distance himself. He's not per se they have him there, but he's not, per se a major player in this. He's kind of there, off to the side. So they didn't, just kind of disregard his character, but, definitely I wouldn't say he's a big part of this. And good for him. Stay away from Art, stay away from any of this craziness. It's better for you. Anyway, along the way, of Art, eventually having this face off, he's going to have to kill some people. Definitely a good scene in the bar. He goes in there. That's kind of where he gets his outfit, his Santa outfit, that is. Funny scene there. Very typical of what you'd expect from him. Kind of come in. People are staring at him. Oh, who's this character? Who's this guy? Who's this clown here showing up at the bar? Only, I think there's only like 3 people in there. So, not a lot going on. But then in Art fashion, he kind of tries to blend in, be just another person in the bar and or so forth as much as he can before bad things happen. So that's definitely some fun there. He, kills, I guess, there's 2 other people who are kind of involved with the brother, and he definitely does a number on those people. There's a girl who really wants to kind of either interview the brother or interview Sienna, and Art, as he moves closer to her, kind of finds this out, and is going to give her an interview, but not in the fashion she wanted. So I guess as opposed to going through everybody he kind of kills here, I think again you're going to get kind of the same as you'd expect. You're going to get Art just creating as much blood and guts as he possibly can. He has an axe, he uses that a couple of times, just dicing up people, cutting body parts off, just making a bloody mess. He, obviously has fun while doing it. There's one scene he does something very interesting on the floor afterwards. I'll leave what he did, for you guys to see. Stuff that, is is just simply wrong, but to also laugh at as well. He's having a good time while doing it. So, if you're into the blood and guts, so maybe you're having a good time too watching this. If you're not, you're probably not having a good time. I would say if you're not into it, but you've made it all the way through, kudos to you, because if you're not into that, I don't know why you would watch on that. Unless you're just a horror fan and just watch it because maybe it's not your thing, but you're a horror fan, so you're gonna watch it anyway. But yeah, he has some good ones and so forth. I think I have not looked. I don't know who they use, if they use the same people for special effects the entire way or somebody different. But I think, it seemed a lot the same. Obviously they nothing CGI added as far as I know. But you can kind of tell when he's going to town on somebody, that it's, obviously fake and whatever. But I think they've done that in some of the other ones. That it's fake. I know in one of the other ones, he splits a person in half. I think in this one you get, kind of the other gender and doing a very similar kind of thing. Maybe not going all the way, but definitely, in a very, whatever, I'll leave that as it is, but definitely in a very trying to split way. But yeah, he's just butchering and hammering away with lots of blood and guts in it. I can see an argument that maybe, again, maybe if you're not into it, or maybe you've kind of seen this now going into a third one, that maybe, okay, I've seen it, already, we get what you're trying to do here. You're trying to, have Art butcher somebody and do it in his own way, his own kind of fashion, and maybe him really enjoying it, having a humor to it, and then just making it as bloody and gutty, as possible. So I think, even for me, who loves all that, I think, as the kind of film went on, you're kind of like, it did hit me a little bit that, okay, I've seen him kind of do this already, and it kind of makes me think, well, you see, all of them, do that. Freddy did it, Jason did it. Again, you're kind of thinking about the horror icon of possibilities of art versus, what we've seen before. Is he doing things in a much of a difference as they kind of did? I mean, obviously Jason was more serious and, maybe mindful, but very serious. I'm going to kill them and, that's it. Sometimes very brutally, and then sometimes it's just very, very quickly. If you, maybe Freddy had a little bit more fun with it, he was, kind of laughing or whatever and so forth through a lot of the kills, and, able to do certain things because of the dream. But then you have, Art here, and he's obviously having a good time with it, kind of laughing inside. Obviously, he's not making any noise or whatever. But definitely going out of his way to just butcher and butcher and butcher, when he doesn't, doesn't have to. So, I will admit that I kind of, had a moment or two where, like I seen him butcher before, he's butchering again, like how many times is he gonna butcher here? I'm all for it, but still, maybe we need something a little bit more, a little bit different. Obviously, they're going for the extreme here. They want it not rated. They want lots of blood and guts. They want to show stuff that's not normally seen. On the flip side of that, I will credit them with doing what many don't do, especially in American film, which is having the death of kids and having the death of kids known. Well, again, maybe we don't get to see it. Kids are going to die in this movie. They do die. You're pretty certain they died. So they don't necessarily, they're not going to show it. But I'll definitely give them that credit because, I think I've said on here before, we've seen movies where they've had the chance, but don't, and then you always wonder, why, and obviously the why is because they can't and whatever. And not that I'm for killing kids, but, when you have a movie and you have a killer and he's there and they're there, it's always kind of odd that, you just bypass that and whatever. But they don't here, and he definitely ruins Christmas for many. Definitely, ruins a very typical standard Christmas thing that you do with Santa. Definitely ruined that. And they definitely go after that. So, on one side where, maybe, I kind of feel like, oh, we've seen him butcher before and he's doing it kind of again. I can also flip that and say, when I'm looking for something different, okay, well, he's now gone and did something to a bunch of kids that we don't normally see. So give the credit right back. So, but we give a little bit of both sides of that. And then you want to see something different, I would say definitely what other things he does at the end in the final scene. I won't be specifics for those who have not seen it. But definitely what he does say to one of the people that are tied down in the final moments in the big final scene. One of the two people are tied down. One person is going to have something very disgusting and crazy happen to them. So I'll give credit there. So it's a little bit of a back and forth. You kind of see him butcher somebody. You're like, okay, we've seen that before. So we want to see, especially if he goes to a part 4. We fully expect to see him butcher somebody again. But maybe let's take it a different direction. Let's do something else. Let's do something more like this chair thing. Not have him just tie someone down and let's just go at it. Let's maybe reach the same outcome, but maybe we can do it in a different way, maybe to say, just to up the game, kind of change it around or whatever. But again, keep the blood and guts. I'm still there for that. That's to be said. So yeah, I think story wise, they kind of put it together well. Obviously, seeing the two of them kind of come together and so forth. I thought they balanced that pretty well. Obviously, we're hanging with Art. Art is more of the main character here. It kind of started that. So yeah, I didn't think that they greatly hung on Sienna and what she was doing. It was more like showing that she was still scared of something and basically waiting for something to happen, and then we get that big conclusion there. It is kind of interesting what they did. I don't want to get too much into it in case you haven't seen the end of it, but kind of figuring out what has happened. Obviously, like I said, the woman who's with Art is going to be in the final scene. It's going to be an important part of the final scene, and I think you're going to kind of discover a little bit more about why she's important, what Art is doing, and why Art is trying to kill Sienna, and again, what this woman has to do with it. So some of those things are going to be answered by the time this one kind of comes to a head and has a final moment there. Obviously, it's like I said, we're most likely headed to a part 4, and we'll see. Is this battle going to continue on and off? Again, kind of thinking about in this whole ballpark of Art and kind of comparing him to other series. Having him match up now in 2 movies against a certain we'll call her a final girl and so forth. We're going to go to a part 3 and a third movie with her. Again, is it that going to be what we're doing here? Is even if there is more to be done, or is this going to be it? We just had a trilogy, but now are we really going to get a 4th one and maybe a trilogy with her and her being the main person against him? We've seen some of the other movies that I mentioned, and see specifically Freddy going against Nancy. Maybe not in every single movie, but she definitely is there for several movies and several parts of the franchise, and definitely a thorn in the side of Freddy along the way. So is kind of is that the what we have here? Again, kind of giving you that presentation of is this, this generation's horror icon or franchise, even that, to kind of put this in those kind of ballparks, going forward. So definitely, I encourage you guys to kind of think about that. If you're a fan of this series, if you've watched all three of them now, definitely in the comment section or on social media with me, does it kind of hit you in the same way? Do you have that thoughts, or are you just watching this and you're not ready to kind of stick somebody in that ballpark, or maybe you haven't even thought about that? What we've seen now through three movies, what we might see in a fourth movie, once that kind of concludes, will this, in your mind, does that kind of land? Is he a horror icon? Is this going to be one of those franchises for this generation that are kind of matched with some of those other ones that I mentioned, and that kind of stuff? So hopefully, with the review, kind of giving you, something to kind of think about. Maybe you've had those thoughts or not. That's the way, I kind of looking at the series and looking at, where we're going with him. If it can establish that. I didn't go back. I don't know what I rated part 2. I did kind of go back. I did look here on IMDb, and it seemed like people rated this movie more than part 2. I don't know. For me, again, I really should have looked to see what I gave part 2. I'm sure it was way up there, mostly because of the blood and guts. But I just can't help think that I liked part 2 more than this one. Again, according to IMDb, so far, this one seems to be a little bit more liked than the other one, part 2. Part 1, I don't know. I don't know if putting all three of them together, where I stand on all three. But I just have a feeling that I liked part 2 just a little bit more. And I think it just had to be more because of, in an odd way, the scenes that we, obviously I love the blood and guts, but maybe the scenes of Art just kind of being more that clown or that mime, or whatever you want to call him. Well, he's the clown, but he looks like a mime. I don't know. But when he just kind of does his movements, and I kind of think back to the scene where he's on it kind of in part 2, where he's kind of on that little tricycle kind of riding, and he's in that, what is it, like that little trailer, and he kind of pops his head out, and when he's in the store and he's kind of got to get those glasses on, he's kind of in the background, like that kind of fun stuff. Just for some reason, I love the blood and guts, but I kind of gravitated to, seeing that in a character. Maybe, it kind of reminded me a little bit more of Freddy. Obviously, you're not going to see Jason do too much of that. You're not going to see Michael do too much of that. You're not going to see Leatherface do too much of that. Maybe you're here or there in a different version of Leatherface, maybe, depending on the sequel or whatever. But still, it kind of makes him different than most of those guys, and kind of makes him stand out. And one of the things I appreciate about Art and his character is definitely where he can do all this, and it's mostly a lot of the movements and fun he has. When he's not necessarily killing, when he's kind of setting it up or whatever. And we do have those moments there. I mean, he has the moment with the kids. As I say, he kills some kids here. But he kind of has that moment, but I didn't think he went over the top and did anything great with that. Maybe when he first went into the bar, maybe that kind of scene kind of was in a similar way. But I just think that some of those moments stood out more in part 2 that I just mentioned, and I think that those moments specifically might make me kind of trend to liking that one more than this one. Again, I also think, while the woman he's with is important to the story and where we're going here, I definitely think in the final scene here, when we have, what's going on, she kind of steals a little bit of the thunder from Art, I think. And at least in my view and my perspective, is I'm here to see art, and you see he's there in part one, he's there, he's the prime character obviously in part two, before you kind of get this introduction to this other woman, and I think she steals a little bit too much of the thunder. Obviously, it is important to what is going on here, part of the story that they've created between Art and Sienna. So it is important that she's there. But I don't know. Like, again, kind of like I said, I want to see, Art kind of be that funniness also, when the killing happens. And in the final scene, I think, the attention is on her and what her role, and obviously it's important to the story, and you finding out more, why she's there, and so forth. But I also think that it steals some scene time from him, and what he can do and what you want to see him do. So again, so I don't know if you guys kind of feel the same way, felt the same way. Maybe you just enjoyed it, or maybe you didn't like it, or maybe you appreciate, learning, how she's part of the story more in that final scene. But I kind of view it as she kind of stole some of that thunder. And I don't know, to be honest, I'm not, as sold with her as a character and being part of the story as I am with Art. I mean, kind of think about it again, I continue with these kind of comparison. Think about, if Freddy kind of dragged someone along with him, or Jason dragging somebody along with him as he goes. I mean, you can have the flip side of that and say, that's what kind of makes the story a little bit different. So I get it, and I'm fine with that. And like I said, we find out she has an important part to the story. She's not just there for the hell of it. But still, I think I'm in the camp of I'm here to see Art. I don't know, I've kind of got directed to that, even though she's crazy as well and just, can do wild stuff as well. I don't know, maybe I just haven't opened up to her yet, and so maybe if we have a part 4 and maybe we dive more into her and whatever, maybe I can get that appreciation. But as far as this one, I feel she kind of stole some of that from us. So, while, she does add some of the story and is a good thing, maybe she stole a little bit from Art. Definitely early in the film, there's some funny moments there, like in the subway and so forth. And she's obviously there, an important part of Art kind of coming back together, and so forth. So, definitely has an important role and is there, but, I don't know, maybe in the beginning of this one, it's not a big deal. I think in the final moments, stole a little bit from what I wanted to see from Art. I don't know. That's just kind of how I feel about that. So yeah, a lot said. I've talked about a lot about this one and so forth, and making comparisons to it being a big franchise of this generation, of the next generation, whatever. So yeah, so I think at the end of the day, I'm going to give it 4 pools of blood. I'm going to guess I gave part 2 either a 4.5, maybe even 5 because of the blood and guts, because of that. But again, I think maybe I'm going to go with 4 pools of blood out of 5 for this one. Maybe because of that. Maybe because of this new character kind of stealing a little of the thunder from Art. And maybe because, like I said, at times, I felt maybe I've seen this and expected this from Art. Some of the things from Art already, and maybe I want something a little bit more now, or him to go in a different direction, do something different. And like I said, I've credited him for doing, him and both the movie, for doing certain things, and then, maybe, doing maybe a little bit too much of the same. So, I think with all that, giving it 4 pools of blood, is fair enough for this one. Obviously, you guys know that I love the blood and guts and whatever, regardless whether it's the same or different or whatever. Definitely enjoyed, all of that in the movie as well. So, we'll see. We'll see what they have to offer us in the next one, and see where this goes, where the story goes, and whatever. And, find out, how much more of Art, do we have? We have more sequels after that, or Is this what we're going to get? So we'll see. I have a feeling, um, this is not near the end of art. So we'll see. So yeah, again, that's going to be 4 pools of blood out of 5. I think I've talked long enough on this one. It's certainly thank you if you've held in this entire time, a little bit longer than usual here. So with that, horrorgory-reviews.blogspot.com is where you can find all of my reviews written in video. Certainly find my review of part 2. Hopefully it's there. I'm pretty sure I did it. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I expect reviews to be there and they're just not. I'm like, damn, how did I not? But I'm pretty sure I did this one. Yes, it's crazy. Anyway, so, please visit the blog. Obviously, if you're looking for something written, you have to go a little bit ways back. So, plenty of videos. So if you're just interested in that, like, subscribe, and do everything that everybody wants to do here on YouTube. But if not, no worries. It is okay. I thank you for your time regardless, especially if you've watched all of this review. Twitter, Facebook, information down below. Feel free to reach out to me, talk to me there, certainly about some of the stuff I mentioned here. And definitely in the comment section again, your view on this franchise, Art the Clown, and this, as, a staple of horror going forward. Definitely interested in seeing if you guys feel the same way or not, and we'll see. So with that, I guess I'll catch you on the next review, horror fans.